Flying feels routine, until you discover what's really going on behind the scenes. From the moment you book your ticket to the second you land, air travel is packed with strange rules, silent systems, and hidden truths. Most passengers will never notice them, but once you do, you can't unsee them. These are the shocking air travel facts no one talks about. And if you stick around to the end, you'll hear the one fact that even frequent flyers find hard to believe. Let's begin. Ever notice how the cabin lights dim before takeoff and landing? It feels peaceful, almost calming. But it's not about ambiance. It's about survival. If there's an emergency during landing or takeoff, your eyes need to be adjusted to the darkness outside the plane. So if the lights go out and you need to evacuate quickly, your vision isn't scrambling to catch up. In a crisis, seconds count, and your night vision might be the difference between stumbling or sprinting off safely. It's also why you're told to open window shades during landing. Flight attendants aren't just being bossy, they're prepping you to react fast. So next time the lights dim, don't just settle in for a nap. Realize it's your quiet cue to stay alert, just in case. Believe it or not, you can board a plane barefoot. It's not recommended, but it's not against the rules. Heels though? That's a different story. In an emergency evacuation, high heels can puncture the inflatable slide. That's why flight attendants may ask you to remove them during takeoff or landing. But no shoes at all. Technically allowed, though it's one of the most unhygienic choices you can make. Plane carpets are rarely deep cleaned, and you're walking where hundreds of strangers have walked before, and worse. So barefoot travelers, they're taking more than just a comfort risk. They're stepping into a petri dish. So yes, it's wild that heels are a hazard, but dirty bare feet? Apparently no problem. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Airport slots at hubs like Heathrow or JFK are priceless. Airlines must follow use it or lose it rules, requiring them to fly at least 80% of their allocated slots, or forfeit them to competitors. In slow months, this leads to an absurd practice: running empty or nearly empty ghost flights just to keep their spot. Imagine a 300-seat jet flying with a handful of passengers, burning thousands of pounds of fuel for nothing. It's a massive environmental waste driven by regulations. Imagine a medical emergency forces your long-haul flight to return to the airport right after takeoff. Here's the problem: the plane is too heavy to land safely. It exceeds its maximum landing weight, and attempting to land could cause catastrophic damage. To solve this, pilots dump tens of thousands of pounds of fuel, which vaporizes at high altitude. You might not see it, but you could smell a faint, nail salon-like scent in the cabin. It's a necessary safety procedure they never announce. You're mid-flight. The seatbelt sign finally turns off, and you make a beeline for the bathroom. But here's something you probably didn't know. You can be denied access to the lavatory, even when it's empty. Flight attendants are trained to block passengers from using bathrooms at certain times, especially during takeoff, landing, or when you're close to the cockpit. Why? Security. If you try to sneak in when the captain says no, you could delay the flight, or worse, raise a red flag with federal air marshals. And yes, there might be one on board. You just won't know who they are. So even if nature calls, resist the urge to bolt from your seat, because one badly timed bathroom trip could land you on a watch list. You grab the window seat, you lean over, and stare out at the clouds. But what if I told you that view might not be exactly what it looks like? Here's the thing. Some airplane windows aren't directly next to the actual fuselage opening. Depending on the aircraft design, your window frame might be slightly offset from where the real opening is. So what you're seeing could be an angle, a mirror, or even a double-paned illusion that makes things appear more aligned than they really are. And yes, some cabin walls have dummy windows, especially in rows reserved for crew rest or equipment. So while you think you're gazing at the sky, you might just be staring through the most convincing optical trick at 35,000 feet. Kind of makes you rethink the whole best seat on the plane, doesn't it? You've heard it every single flight. Please switch all devices to airplane mode. And sure, we all do it, mostly. But have you ever wondered, what would really happen if you didn't? Would the plane suddenly nosedive? Would the cockpit go dark? Not quite. The truth is, your phone won't crash the plane, but it can interfere with communication systems, especially during takeoff and landing, when precision matters most. 100 phones pinging towers at 35,000 feet? That creates a storm of radio noise, and for pilots trying to communicate with air traffic control, that's the last thing they need. So is airplane mode about safety? Yes, just not the way you think. It's less life or death and more about keeping the pilots from hearing digital static instead of runway instructions. So next time you forget airplane mode, you're not a criminal, but you might be a very loud nuisance in the cockpit. You miss your flight. Frustrating, sure, but at least your bag didn't go anywhere, right? Wrong. In many cases, your luggage keeps flying, even if you don't. And that's not a mistake, it's airline policy. Once your bag is tagged and loaded, it goes on a high-speed journey through scanners, conveyors, and loading crews, all before you even make it to the gate. If you're late, there isn't always time to pull it back. And that suitcase? It's on its way to your destination, without you. Sometimes it arrives a day before you do. Other times, it vanishes into the baggage claim abyss, waiting for a traveler who never arrives. So next time you're running late, don't just worry about missing your flight. Worry about your suitcase having a better trip than you. You feel a bump. The seatbelt sign dings on. You assume it's turbulence, right? Not always. Sometimes the sky is smooth, but the passengers aren't. Flight attendants can request the seatbelt sign be turned on to calm the cabin without making an announcement. Too many people crowding the aisles? Seatbelt sign? Passengers ignoring instructions? Seatbelt sign. It's not just about safety, it's about control. The ding creates instant obedience. People sit down, the chaos quiets, order is restored. So next time that light comes on out of nowhere, don't just look outside. You might be the turbulence they're trying to stop. You've seen it in every safety video. Put on your oxygen mask before helping others. But here's what they don't tell you. That mask only gives you about 12 to 15 minutes of air. That's it. Not hours. Not the whole flight, just a tiny emergency window. Why so short? Because it's not meant for long-term breathing. It's designed to keep you conscious while the plane descends to a breathable altitude. If the cabin loses pressure, you've got seconds before hypoxia kicks in. That's dizziness, confusion, and eventually, blackout. The masks buy just enough time for the pilots to dive the plane down fast, usually within 5 minutes. So if those yellow cups ever drop from above, don't hesitate. Put it on fast. Your survival depends on those precious few minutes. You're soaring through the clouds at 35,000 feet. But there are places in the sky your plane will never go. They're called no-fly zones, and they're very real. Some are obvious, like around the White House or Area 51. Others, not so much. There are hidden airspace restrictions over military bases, nuclear sites, even certain private estates. And it's not just about safety, it's about secrecy. Stray into one of these zones, and the cockpit could get a warning from air traffic control, or worse, a military escort. Most passengers never realize it, but that smooth detour on the flight map? It might be your plane deliberately avoiding restricted airspace. So the next time your flight makes a weird loop or zigzag, know this, it's probably not turbulence. It's a route built around something you were never meant to see.
Airports are like mini-cities with their own languages, rules, and secrets. Most travelers never realize what's going on behind the scenes. But today, you will. These are 8 airport secrets staff are trained never to talk about. And number 1 might make you think twice before touching anything. You've probably walked past someone at the airport without even realizing they were profiling you. Airports use special experts trained in SPOT, screening passengers by observation techniques. These aren't just TSA agents, they're behavioral analysts, trained to read facial micro-expressions, fidgeting, sweating, lip-licking, and darting eyes. It's like having a human lie detector in the terminal. Let's say someone's calmly checking in, but their hands are shaking and they keep glancing around. To you, they just look nervous. But to a spot agent, that's a flag. They'll ask something simple like, "What's the purpose of your visit?" and observe how you react. If your story doesn't add up or your nonverbal cues are suspicious, you'll be discreetly pulled aside. And here's the twist. They're not just at security. They're in the check-in area, near baggage drop, and at passport control, watching without you noticing. You haven't said a word, but the airport already knows you're stressed. Why? Because many airports now use aggression detection cameras powered by artificial intelligence. These cameras analyze facial heat maps, breathing patterns, and even posture to detect elevated aggression. Imagine walking through a terminal while your image flashes red on a screen, all because you were irritated from a flight delay. And it goes deeper. Some systems flash subliminal images, barely visible cues designed to provoke stress, and then monitor your reaction using infrared sensors. In seconds, the system can flag you for extra screening before you even approach the security line. We're not far from a world where security checks you without ever touching you. Once your bag is checked in, it enters a maze of conveyor belts, scanners, and automated sorters. Here's the truth. No human at the airport is watching it closely after that. Airport staff move your bags from check-in to the plane, but once it's in the system, it's on its own. If the barcode is smudged or the tag has old destination stickers, the wrong scanner might send your luggage to an entirely different airport. That's why bags sometimes arrive late or early. Imagine landing in Paris and your suitcase is already waiting for you in Istanbul. And airport workers? They'll tell you, once it's on the belt, it's no longer their problem. Pro tip, always tear off old tags and never rely solely on bag check stickers. A permanent luggage tag with your info can be a lifesaver. You've seen police dogs at customs, but what you haven't seen are the undercover sniffer dogs operating behind the scenes. Before bags are even loaded, they pass through 5 security layers. And one includes dogs trained to detect trace amounts of explosives or chemicals. But unlike police K9S, these dogs aren't meant to scare you. In fact, they look like regular pets. Golden retrievers, Labradors, even pointers. Trained not to bark or intimidate, but to silently alert handlers. They're trained using reward-based methods, and some are so subtle in their alerts that even nearby passengers never notice. Fun fact: a well-trained detection dog can smell a teaspoon of sugar in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. That's the level of sensitivity we're talking about. Ever wondered who makes your plane meal, or when? Airline meals are cooked in massive airport catering kitchens, and these places never sleep. Meals are often cooked 8 to 10 hours before your flight, sometimes even the night before. These kitchens serve dozens of airlines at once, working around the clock to prep and portion food trays with military-level precision. Here's a weird truth. Airline menus are finalized up to a year in advance, especially for international flights. Every ingredient matters, even down to how long it can stay fresh in flight. That's why something as small as an olive made history. American Airlines saved $40,000 by removing 1 olive per salad from business class. Multiply that by millions of meals a year, and you see why every bite counts. You know the air traffic control tower? That's just the tip of the iceberg. There are actually 3 kinds of air traffic controllers: tower, terminal, and en route. And they don't just handle planes in the sky. They direct everything on the ground, from taxiways to lighting. Picture this: one controller watching 5 separate monitors, each displaying live flight data, weather updates, and ground traffic. They coordinate with ground crew, pilots, other towers, and even border agents. Every second counts. If they give the wrong command, that could delay not just your flight, but dozens behind you. It's one of the most stressful jobs in the world, and mistakes aren't an option. Most people don't know this, but if you fly into a country with no valid visa, the airline gets fined and must fly you home at their expense. That's why agents at check-in obsess over your travel documents. It's not just protocol, it's financial survival. Let's say you show up for a flight to Canada, but your visa expired last month. The airline still lets you on. They now have to pay for your return flight, hotel stay during processing, and possibly face legal action. So next time the agent triple checks your documents, remember, they're not just being thorough. They're protecting their bottom line. Ever been asked to rub your hands on a small cloth and wonder why? You were just scanned by an explosives trace detector, a machine called an ETD atomizer. Before their shifts, agents load the device with chemical samples of banned substances. The machine then remembers those molecules. Even microscopic residue from touching something suspicious, say fertilizer or fireworks, can trigger an alert. And here's the kicker. Even if you washed your hands, the trace can still remain on your skin or clothes. So if you're handling anything that might resemble banned materials, even legally, be prepared for extra screening. So now you know what airport staff don't want you to know, and probably never thought you'd learn. From invisible scanners to behavior profilers, you've just unlocked a side of air travel most people will never see. But here's the real question. Which one of these secrets shocked you the most? Was it the facial recognition cameras tracking your stress? The dog sniffing your luggage in silence? Or maybe it was the atomizer that knows what's been on your hands? Let us know in the comments. I read every single one, and I want to know which secret made you stop and go, "Wait, what?" And hey, if you've got that one friend who's always getting flagged at TSA or swears their bag disappears on purpose, share this video with them. Help them fly smarter. If you learned something new today, give this video a like. It tells the algorithm we're doing something right. And if you want more travel secrets, airport hacks, and behind-the-scenes airline insights like this, subscribe now and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got full videos planned on how to spot airline pricing traps, the truth about duty-free, and even how to get free upgrades without paying a dime. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. And now, you fly smarter than 99% of passengers.